Good morning. It is Friday, August 15th. Zach Howard, ending off the week here. Summer continues to roll on. Kids getting back to school soon. And markets are continuing to go higher. That is the theme. And that is what we are looking at as the markets in the US want to go higher again, all-time highs. RRP at the Fed, lowest it's been in 4 years, 25 billion, yada yada. Clickbait out there on YouTube of all the doom flame guys in the back of their icons all the time about this is the end of the world again and again. But if you look at markets, that is not the reality, especially when you look at bond yields. There is no stress out there in global markets currently. The MOVE index, which is the volatility readings on the treasury bond market in the US, lowest has been in over a year, down less than 80. Looking at the PPI data out of yesterday in the US, correlates what we've seen out of the CPI data. PPI is a leading indicator of where CPI is usually going to go. Price is going higher as a result of tariffs, as a result of debasement. Consumers are going to have to bear that. Companies are going to pass that along. And now the government is even taxing some of these companies for selling certain products to certain countries. So we're seeing an actual rate of change increase, particularly in the food component, things that people can't avoid. The actual versus the prior, that's the rate change. That's what we pay attention to. On to the flows. The flows matter more than fundamentals, more than narrative, especially shorter term. That's what drives markets. Everybody wanting to know what's going on with these Bitcoin treasury companies pulling back so dramatically here over the last 30 days. And it's a result of the higher beta trades in the Ethereum, Solana even. Some of these altcoin space, they're soaking off that liquidity. Look at the flows into the Ethereum ETFs over the last 2 weeks, over $2 billion. So taking some flows away that otherwise would have went into some of the mid-cap, smaller cap Bitcoin treasury company plays. Yesterday was a great day for the largest Bitcoin ETF, IBIT, but still the Ethereum flows were almost equivalent. So that is having a immediate term result on the price. However, I think the Ethereum flows are getting to the end of their peak. You're looking at two different animals here. One is a $2.4 trillion gorilla that is the global reserve asset of Bitcoin, which has a volatility roughly 2x of gold, versus Ethereum, which is still a small monkey out there compared to Bitcoin at roughly 580 billion in market cap. So if you're 150 pounds, you're 18 years old, you're trying to put on a bit of muscle, it's probably a little bit easier to go from 150 to 170 from now until Christmas. If you're a 250-pound seasoned bodybuilder, you ain't going to 300 pounds very easily. That is what Bitcoin versus Ethereum is here. The rate of change went dramatically into Ethereum. I think it slows from here. And as a result, you're going to probably see reflective action back into some of the treasury company names in the coming weeks. Is it going to happen all at once? Absolutely not. But this is really a product of the liquidity that is in markets. It is flowing throughout the global financial system currently. And some of these higher beta trades reflect that much faster than you would in a more seasoned asset, which is what Bitcoin currently is right now. But zooming out, what are the big whales, the big players, the sovereign nations? They're buying Bitcoin as a sovereign reserve asset, similar to what they would gold previously, versus Ethereum, which is a technology company that has individuals that run it. So you're comparing apples to pumpkins or apples to oranges is not the same thing at all. Understand what you're looking at. If volatility rises, the moves the other way are going to happen even faster. Great chart here from a friend, Kevin Muir, and his Macro Tourist Substack. The U.S. is the main stage of capital, and it continues to be. Look at the massive outpouring of flows into the U.S. over the last few years compared to the rest of the world. $32 trillion in the difference. Incredible. on the back of NVIDIA, on the back of Microsoft, Meta, Apple, Google, etc. And in my daily notebook, all I see is higher lows, higher highs in the S&P, in the NASDAQ. They're going to go higher. That's what I got. Have a great day. Have a great weekend. See you next week. Cheers.